Good morning. It's a little tiring, isn't it, to drive through all the smoke? So as I came out towards the highway this morning, I was thinking, oh, scratchy eyes, okay, scratchy throat, okay. And I drove up I-5, and the sign said 299 West is open at specific times. And I was so thrilled, I couldn't help but smile. But below that, it said 299 East is closed. So we're continuing to deal with this an amazing time of fires. And I thank you for being here today, because hopefully I will give you some information that might lift you up before you go home. The title is Treatment Deals with Thought. And a practitioner, when they do treatment, it's very simple, it's calm, and they state what they believe is the truth for you. That you are made in the image and likeness of God, that you are spirit created by God, you are a unique creation. And the treatment is to make sure they believe that. And so sometimes we have to go on and on a little bit to really embody that and go, yes, that's what I believe. And so then we can say, and I know this truth for you. So a practitioner doesn't feel like they have to create something that you want. The business is to reveal that the potential is already there. The core, the seed is already there. And so they like to pronounce that. So if you're wanting a better relationship, I know that relationship is already available to you. It's already there. And just the process of opening our eyes, our willingness, our intention to receive is the next step. Many of you know I've been corresponding with a gentleman in prison in Missouri for about 10 years now. Well, about a year ago, I received a letter from a young man in Florida, in a Florida prison. His name is Terrence. And he met someone in the Florida prison who used to correspond with me also. And he went, I really want to learn more about this science of mind. So he asked if I would help him. I said, absolutely. So I sent him the books, many of Holmes' books. I sent him my books. And I always sent him a copy of my talk. And so he's really done a lot of study, and he can't seem to get enough. He's just charging into this. Recently he wrote, I'm driven to learn, expand, and grow. The misuse of the law, which was ignorant to me, along with my soul's longing to evolve and return to a consciousness of knowledge, is obvious. Now, thanks to you, I'm afforded the opportunity to acquire tools like spiritual mind treatment to remedy my misuse of the law. The guy is getting it, you can tell that. I'm beginning to trust the universe desires that I become the best that I'm capable of. And since I can't give what I don't have, I now realize that I do have direct contact with the infinite. I see that in this philosophy, we believe that we're immersed in a spiritual universe, and there's always more going on at any moment than we realize. I accept this oneness principle. I'm beginning to discover it's true. I can gaze into the sky and feel a connection. With some people, I can feel there's a knowing at the moment that's more profound than what it appears to be. So I'm very receptive to the divine urge when it starts to push me, when it guides me into uncharted waters. I'm so fortunate. It helps to accept the truth that as a co-creator, by my very thought process, what I give my attention to can change. So now I feel accountable for my personal growth in the evolution of my soul, since my decisions have a more in-depth effect than I could have ever imagined. I now know that my thinking determines the way I feel, the way I feel influences the way I act. I'm an eager, respectful, sincere student, and at the moment, I'm just a sponge soaking it all up. Isn't that refreshing? It's so refreshing. In these times when there's so much sadness all around us, for a person being in prison for so many years to make that recognition, it just warms my heart. So it's true, there's nothing more definite and life-changing than the mental work that goes along with spiritual mind treatment. We have 3 new licensed practitioners, and they are also called spiritual mind healers, who are skilled in this process, and they are offering it to you because it's a procedure. There's a definite technique, using their thought to communicate with your thought. And it's always in a specific direction. And there's always a conscious intention along with that, in alignment with what you are looking for, what you would like to have. So the words that practitioners use may sound simple, but they're very direct and to the point. Don't know if you've read the book Praying Dangerously by Regina Ryan, and she writes that intention is one of the strongest energies in the universe. So our intention to pray rightly sets in place like a cornerstone in our mind for this demonstration to take place. It plants that seed. In Lynn McTaggart's work, who wrote the book Power of Eight, her amazing research on intention asks us to think what it really means to be human. And it proves that we're connected to everyone else. And that's the great thing about groups of eight. We're going to be enjoying that process because we pay better attention to our intention. We may pay better attention to what we're thinking. So in the Power of Eight, intention is going to be the key in the process. You know, we went on vacation a couple weeks ago, and it was a wonderful time to just sit on the deck of this cruise ship and think about the world. You know, you're looking out on the water, and you feel like you're in the ocean. And I started thinking about evolution. Did you realize that evolution is an effect? It's an effect. Think of the little pollywogs that eventually learn to crawl up on land and become frogs. Intention, evolution is an effect. There's something in animals and in humans that gives us the urge to evolve. I thought about horses. You know, they used to be real tiny and big, and then I thought about human beings, and I wondered, what is this evolution that we're in right now? What is going on in this part of evolution right now? Because the cause of evolution is there's a potential within us, and it gets activated at times. It gets activated to help us grow, to be better people, to be more than, do than. And nothing can evolve unless it was first in mind. Whatever mind drove you here to this center. Everything is subject to evolution. And if you remember how it all started, in the beginning was the Word. The Word of God. Ken Wilber is one of my favorite authors. He's a preeminent scholar on the stages of human development. I don't know if you've read anything. He is just a phenomenal thinker. And at some point, from the time we were born, we evolved to learn that we're actually individual, that we evolved to learn that now we can make decisions. We were not born at the highest stage of thought, which he calls integral, where we're all integrated with the universe. We were all born as babbling little babies, and we had to learn about people. We had, as we grew, he says it takes children an average of 7 years before they can know that there's a role you play other than what I want. You know, children can be very selfish. It's about me, me, me. Of course, some adults think that too. So we wonder, how did we evolve? How are we evolving? It makes you question. But the turning point is when a child starts to understand that you're an individual and you have your own wants and desires. So there's many perspectives out there in the world today. Some people are still at stages where they don't respect you. They don't respect others. And others, like people who come here and go to spiritual ashrams, things like that, they're seeing the world from a whole different level. So our minds develop from selfish me to caring for others, to identifying with others, and it's a process that has to take place. You didn't learn to write a paragraph immediately. You started learning the letters A, B, C, and then words, mommy, daddy, baby, sister, and then sentences. It's an evolutionary process. And I guess I never thought of it that way. You just say, oh, I'm learning, 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 but it's evolving our mind, evolving our thought process. It occurs in our mind. And Ken Wilber says we can accelerate the process, especially as adults. We can be lifelong learners, and most people that attend a center like this are lifelong learners. We can grow through spiritual practices. We can go through the use of spiritual mind treatment. We can take transformative classes like those we offer here. And we continue to develop into a different stage of understanding about ourselves and reality. He believes the evolutionary drive of humanity is to a stage where, at some point, it will respect and appreciate all other stages of development, where everyone can be compassionately accepted. And I think that's what we do really well here. I don't care where you're at on development. I don't care if you've never heard of Ernest Holmes. If you walk through that door, I know something called you to come, and we accept that. The rub that's going on right now is some segments of the population refuse to recognize or accept people who have other values and other beliefs. And so a lot of people think less than groups of people like that, far from inclusivity. The war of words against other people is getting pretty charged. And I, as a minister, go, amazing. Because I really believe evolution's going on here. And he said if you have any sense of despair about society, we're not seeing the currents of evolution that are taking place. Well, that set me back sitting on the little deck on the ship. What do you mean by that? I'm not seeing evolution taking place because sometimes it feels like we're going backwards. But sometimes that happens so that those people who rise to a level of knowledge and understanding can help the self-correction. There's 4 development stages, from selfish to caring to universal care to the integration with everyone in the universe. And his books are all about that. And if we, at this point, think less of some people because they don't believe like we believe, or they're not as smart as we are, or they're not as evolved as we are, we forget that, wait a minute, one time we were back there. We were there. And you walked through the door and we welcomed you. Sometimes we get off track and we think everybody should know what we know today. Wouldn't that be great? But wherever we are on a stage of development, we really don't have the values of the next stage of development. It's evolutionary. Today you would think multiculturalism should be the norm. It's not. Diversity, accepting everyone, is the norm. It's not. Some people don't even accept science. That makes me amazed. Some people don't accept our type of spirituality. So it's an amazing time to be in this philosophy and watch it all happen and think, what can I do to bring more compassion to a situation? What can I do to offer love to a situation when I hear people slamming other types of people? It's an evolutionary process. It's not me to say it's wrong. It's me to say, can I do something in the moment that helps lift people's thinking up? I think the greatest gift that this center offers Redding is we're a place where people can grow and evolve. I believe there are some center churches out there where it's this way or the highway, and that's where they are. And it's a lot of my neighbors, and they're very happy there. But some point in time, there'll be an urge. Is this really all there is? So it takes expanding our mind to see a new way and to not judge people for where they are now, to be helpful instead of harmful to their process. I walked in here, I was thinking it's 1989. Oh my God, that's a long time ago. So that's many years, over 30 some years. I don't want to go back to that person I was then. I really don't. And I look at that and I go, wow, my growth is continuing off the charts. Even today, it's continuing off the charts. When I first came here as a divorced, now single woman, very tender, crying all the time, some kind ladies took me to a restaurant for lunch. And in the middle of lunch, Jane Ryder, anybody know Jane? Remember Jane? She stands up in the middle of the restaurant and says, "I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change." I'm going, wait a minute. These people are crazy. I was so shocked. I could still see her doing that. She does hula too. She says, oh, it was so cute. It was so cute. Can you? You can. Oh my God. And the first time I went to the annual conference at Asilomar for a whole week, my first powerful lesson was just letting people be who they have to be, who they want to be, and to mind my own business. Oh my God. Wait a minute. I'm a manager. And then one of those, upside of the head evolutionary moments was to realize that when people criticize others, there's something in their life that's not going right. And then I went to a workshop on forgiveness. Oh, I could not cry anymore. I had to let go of the misunderstanding I had with another person and realize the important thing for me to do was allow this person to be who they needed to be. And at that time, they didn't need me to be in their life, and that hurt. But when I realized I could forgive myself and honor them, major turning point in my life. So all of this has prepared me for being a minister because it's an interesting ride in and of itself. I'm always thrilled about classes, and my next class is Practical Mysticism, which is a very deep dive into your subconscious. Very deep. So if you're ready to join in that aspect of your own personal evolution, I do hope you come and join us. I got a note from Terrence. It usually sends me pages of his writings, and it was just one sheet of paper, 1 month to go till Practical Mysticism, because he's going to join us by way of correspondence. So that's going to be really fun. Sometimes in our development, we hit a stage that feels really comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that. We'll know when it's time to start looking around. And so that's one of the reasons Sue and I spend a lot of time and effort on making sure as our education program moves through the year, we have beginners classes, we have intermediate classes, we have advanced classes. We have classes that don't do anything with spirituality at all, they're just personal development, because we want to make sure we're hitting all the buttons in here, all the needs in here. And over time, you do get to appreciate the diversity in life, and you get to appreciate the diversity of beliefs, and you become more confident in yourself, more centered in yourself, and more in love with life. Well, Ken Wilber has a name for groups like this that help them through the growth stages, and it's called DDOs, Deliberately Developmental Organizations. Deliberately Developmental Organizations. And I think we are fitting that. We fit in that. Deliberately inviting you to evolve, to develop in any way, wherever you're at. Humanity is going to have a hard time evolving if we can't even have basic respect for each other. So when I hear people calling out whole groups of society and thinking less of them, it feels like it's a regressive path, like we're going backwards. But Wilber says, don't worry. See the big picture. Many people are taking that walk down that dark alley of negativity. At the same time, the turmoil is helping those on the edge of integral development to surface. They will give birth to the next stage of evolution. His advice, his last chapter, I just loved it. His advice is show up, grow up, wake up, and clean up. What he means is show up in groups and places where you're accepted as you are. Experience the unity of really being accepted. Grow up through classes and workshops to help pull you to the next level of conscious awareness. Wake up and respect all people in all states of consciousness, even those who could care less about enlightenment. And clean up your shadow elements that drive your negative thoughts, your emotions, and any frustrations. You can count on this in practical mysticism. Another one of Ken Wilber's opinions: only people who should be able to work politically, the only people who should be able to work politically for a greater tomorrow are those who truly understand it's not necessary to do so. Isn't that interesting? Because if you think it's necessary, you've missed the point that this is a spiritual system, that this is a spiritual universe. It's the ones who see the great perfection in every moment, who can help, as in a ship, adjust those trim tabs and help the ship aright and go in the right direction. A stable society will manifest a greater good. And that's what this whole chain of evolution is doing right now. Because the entire world is nothing but a dream of God, and we're in it. And we have the co-creative power to adjust our trim tabs through spiritual practices, treatment, and really help create a world that is just amazing. So begin today. And know with me that there is only one thing going on here, and we know that. Oh, we know that each one here, each one in our community of Reading and the world has been created by the One. And the diversity of the world is on purpose. And it's to help us see and develop a respect for all people everywhere. And to catch ourselves when we aren't doing that. To know the greater good that can come from us in our prayer work, in the words we speak, in the actions we take. Each one of us is part of evolution to a society that is integrated with love, inclusiveness, and into a humanity that loves one another. I accept that for myself and everyone here. I can be part of that. You can be part of that. So we celebrate this morning in gratitude for understanding these times, for understanding our role here in the world, and to bless it, to stay awake and offer what we can every day. So I let any fears or frustrations or anxieties about anything that's happening just roll off. Just roll off and know the truth. That's the best gift we can give to ourselves and the world. And so it is.